Imagine you had a roommate. This roommate followed you everywhere. Every morning, first thing, they tell you everything that could go wrong today. Every night, right before you fall asleep, they replay your most embarrassing memories. They second-guess every decision you make. They tell you people are judging you. They predict failure before you even begin. Now here is the thing that should shake you. You have had this roommate your entire life. And until recently, you have probably never once stopped to ask, should I actually be listening to this person? In the last video, we talked about how you are not the voice inside your head. You are the awareness that notices it. That realization matters. But knowing it is only the first step. Because here is what happens to most people. They hear the insight. They understand it intellectually. And then they walk out the door and let the voice run their life anyway. Why? Because they have never actually looked at this voice clearly. They have never treated it like a distinct personality with a history and a track record. Today, we fix that. Singer calls this voice your inner roommate. And the moment you name it that, everything shifts. So who is this roommate? Let's actually describe them. They are almost never calm. They swing between anxiety and self-criticism. They catastrophize things that have not happened. They complain about things that cannot be changed. They bring up painful memories at random, often at the worst possible time. They are rarely encouraging unless it is to pump you up for something they already approved of. And they are relentless. They do not take breaks. They talk to you in the shower, on the drive to work, while you are trying to fall asleep. Here is the exercise Singer suggests. Imagine this roommate was a physical person in your house. Would you tolerate them? Would you sit down every morning and take notes on what they say? Would you let them make your decisions? You would have moved out years ago, and yet inside your head, you follow them around like they are wise. That is the gap we need to close. Here is a simple test. Think back on the last 5 times your inner roommate warned you something was going to go badly. How many of those things actually happened? The meeting they said would go wrong probably went fine. The conversation they spent days dreading probably lasted 3 minutes. The failure they predicted probably never materialized. And even when things did not go perfectly, the voice made you suffer twice. Once in anticipation, once in reality. Their track record is not good. That does not mean you never prepare. That does not mean you ignore legitimate risks. But there is a difference between useful thinking and the roommate's constant, anxious running commentary. One helps you act. The other just makes you suffer. Start keeping a mental record of the predictions versus the reality. That gap, once you really see it, changes how much authority you give the voice. So now you know who the roommate is. You have seen their track record. But here is the question that actually matters. What do you do with them? You cannot kick them out. They live in your head. You cannot silence them with willpower. Trying to force the voice to stop is like trying to push a river upstream. So what is the move? Singer points to 2 practices that shift everything. And once you try them, you realize you have been fighting the wrong battle. The first practice is setting limits. Not silencing the voice. Not arguing with it. Just deciding in advance that it does not get a vote on your actions. Here's what that looks like. The roommate says, "This is going to fail." You notice the thought. You do not fight it. You say, internally, that is your opinion, and then you move forward anyway. You are not pretending the thought does not exist. You are choosing not to let it determine your behavior. Think of it like a colleague who always has something negative to say. You hear them. You nod. You do your own thing. Over time, you start to feel the difference between thoughts that are genuinely useful and thoughts that are just noise. And that distinction, once you feel it in your body, starts to rewire how you relate to your own mind. The second practice is simpler and more powerful. Do not argue with the voice. This sounds obvious, but almost nobody does it. When the inner roommate says something critical, the natural response is to fight back. You try to talk yourself out of the fear. You build a logical case against the anxiety. And what happens? The voice gets louder. You are giving it a debate partner. Singer's point here is sharp. The voice feeds on engagement. Every time you respond, you are signaling that its claims are serious enough to address. But when you simply observe, when you watch the voice the way you would watch clouds pass across a sky, without grabbing them, without pushing them away, it loses its grip. It is still there, but it is no longer driving. You are watching a roommate give a speech from across the room. You see them, you hear them, and you choose not to respond. That is a form of freedom most people have never experienced. Here is the core of this chapter. You are not your inner roommate. You are the awareness that is watching them. The voice is something that happens inside you. It is not you. And the moment you feel that difference, not just understand it intellectually, but actually feel it in your chest, you stop being a passive audience to their monologue. You become the one who decides what gets acted on and what gets released. The roommate will keep talking. That is what they do. But you get to decide whether you follow their lead. And choosing, again and again, not to be controlled by that voice is quietly one of the most powerful things a person can do. If this landed for you, go watch the previous video in this series. It is called You Are Not the Voice Inside Your Head. It builds the foundation for everything we covered today. And drop a comment below with this. What is the one thing your inner roommate says most often? I want to see how universal these patterns actually are. If you want more practices like this for understanding your own mind, subscribe. I post new videos every week.